this is where Andy Reid puts on master classes. This is where he does it. In the playoffs. Like in the regular season, okay, we'll figure it out. This time of year, they're like, hey, you know what? We have like 9 answers to the test you haven't seen yet. Here come 4 of them. And we'll say the other 5 for Buffalo or Baltimore. Right? Like, here it comes.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
It's that football show here on KC Sports Network. Tucker Franklin, Matt Verderame, hanging out with you here. Thank you to our partners at Holiday Distillery, Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon. And hey, if you don't have a place to watch the game and you want to watch it with other Chiefs fans, I've got just a spot for you. It's Holiday Distillery, Weston, Missouri. We're going to be hanging out there. RSVP down in the description below. We got a bunch of details down there for you there too. But we'll be there. I'll be there. I believe Haley Lewis will be there. Joshua Briscoe will be there. BJ Kissel will be there. We got a crew. And you can come hang out with us, watch the game with us as the Chiefs take on the Texans. And Matt, we finally got a football game to talk about. Well, we got several football games to talk about because the NFL playoffs have happened. The wild card round has happened. There were some uneventful games. Maybe one good game? The whole
one good game. Yeah, Washington, Tampa was it. The rest of those games were.
That was a good game. That was a good game. And we also have a matchup for the Chiefs. They're going to be taking on the Texans, a rematch of week, 16? Not too long ago. Yeah, week 16.
Hollywood Browns' first game back.
Ooh, interesting. So we do a familiar foe. Chiefs, as we mentioned on this podcast before, have played every team in the playoff field on the AFC side. And as they look to be in the divisional round, is on the other side of the bracket. That'll be a fun matchup as well. But Matt, how you doing?
I am good, sir. I'm good. How are you?
Never been better. We are so a little peek behind the curtain here. We're recording this on a different schedule than what we usually record it. And when you guys hear this podcast, it's usually Thursday at noon is when this podcast comes out, right? YouTube sometimes noon-ish, right? Whenever everything exporting time and everything like that. But audio is usually always Thursday at noon. You're still hearing this podcast Thursday at noon. That's when this releases. But we usually record it Thursday morning. Like we record it Thursday morning and it immediately goes out. We're recording this Wednesday night after the KC Laboratory, so it's a little bit of a That Football Show After Dark edition, kind of what you could go with here. So the vibes might be different. We might get a little loose with it here, but I like it. I think the vibes early on are strong.
Yeah, it's I threatened to just drink heavily before the podcast. As it turns out, I drank Diet Coke. But these things happen. Look, I am a night owl. I will probably be awake till like 2:00 in the morning. So I am fine recording it at night. We got the mistake we made was we didn't badger Heisler to come on.
It's true.
Just annoy him to no end. He'll probably record his section Thursday morning. But yeah, it's that's the failure of our show. Beyond that, I like it. I mean, look, we know the injury reports, for the first 2 days. We know everything. What are we really going to learn Thursday at 9 a.m. that we don't already know now?
Right. Nothing's changing in the the 12 hours that we would be recording. So why not rip it now? And again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Chiefs, Texans, rematch of week 16. Matt, initial thoughts on this matchup here again, as the Chiefs have played this team, it seems like 45 minutes ago.
So I am in the process, through a half of it so far, of rewatching the other game on the All-22, the week 16 game.
Yep.
Houston defensively in the first half, anyway, I can't vouch for the second half, got to watch it. But in the first half, ton of man coverage, a lot of blitzing. They were just willing to come after the Chiefs. They mugged up the A-gap a lot. They tried to get one-on-ones even when they didn't blitz. I would say they had a decent amount of success in the first half. I mean, the Chiefs scored, they scored 14 points in the first half. So, I mean, it wasn't like the Chiefs didn't do anything. Conversely, the Chiefs did not blitz a lot. And they mixed up their coverage, just played a decent amount of man like they usually do. But the Chiefs were running stunts and twists that were driving the Texans guards and center insane.
Yeah.
The Chiefs just did it over and over, and it was the same, and they just could not block it.
Yeah.
I'd imagine they probably went to school on this a little bit. I would also imagine the Chiefs have more twists and stunts for them to deal with. I thought Caliendo in the first half of that game got a little bit exposed at times. So I'd be curious to see how they, will adjust there if he plays. If he doesn't play and they move Tooney back inside, then that takes care of that.
Yeah.
Maybe that factors into their decision making a little bit. But they were able to guard the Chiefs one-on-one pretty well. The problem was when they did not get home, the Chiefs, Mahomes usually had somebody to make him pay with. And there were some throws they missed. I mean, they missed, it was a good throw actually by Mahomes, but Watson should have caught the touchdown on the deep ball in the middle of the end zone. You might remember they missed it. They had opportunities. And of course, they ended up winning the game. They played fine. But I really walk into this game, and I mean literally, because I'll be there Saturday for SI. I think if the Chiefs lose this game, it's going to be because they played terribly. And that is not if you're a Texans fan and happen to be watching this, it's not like some denigration of the Texans. The Texans are really beat up.
Yeah.
They don't have Diggs. They don't have Dell. The interior of their offensive line has been a disaster. They've been shuffling guys all over the place. Their right tackle's hit and miss, a rookie. They're missing both their safeties and Jimmy Ward and Jalen Petrie, who are good players. Petrie, especially, a really good player. They're missing a lot of guys. And, at this point, I think defensively Houston can hang in there.
Yes.
The problem is offensively, if I know anything about the way Spagnuolo is going to think in this game, he is just going to put McDuffie on Collins on any meaningful down, and they are going to jam the line of scrimmage up and just say you are not going to run. And by the way, in the Week 16 game, the Chiefs played a ton of base, a ton of it. They had 3 linebackers out there, a ton of even on plays you wouldn't think they'd normally be in base, even on second down at times. They had Pinnell play a lot of snaps in that game. And they're like, look, you're not running. And Dell really killed them for a while. And then unfortunately got hurt. And that was kind of it. And I just wonder in this game, obviously Dell will not be there for the entirety of this game.
Yeah.
If they can't get going with Collins, I just don't know where this thing goes. I don't know. He's Robert Woods, who hasn't practiced, by the way, 2-0 Wednesday. Is he going to make a big difference? Cade Stover, their second tight end, he broke his clavicle in the wild card round. He's out, obviously.
Yeah.
Dalton Schultz, I was doing the ranks in my head this morning, just trying to think about this. He's not even a top 15 tight end. I mean, just, I don't know, man. You're asking a lot of that offense against the Chiefs defense in Arrowhead, in the cold.
Right.
You're asking a lot.
I want to stay on that side of the ball because there's a couple of developments there too. Joe Mixon was added to the injury report on Wednesday, did not have a designation on Tuesday, was limited on Wednesday with an ankle injury. That could be something to watch as well. That just also adds to the point that this Texans team is beat to hell, man. This team is yearning for the offseason so they can be healthy again. This team is a shell of what it once was. I think that's kind of the big advantage that the Chiefs have is the defensive side of the ball. And I think what's going to help them that they didn't have last time, potentially Jalen Watson. Jalen Watson's been a full participant both days of practice. That's not nothing. The ability to be able to have a little bit of a chess piece, more of a chess piece with Trent McDuffie to use around and to blitz with Steve Spagnuolo, what he likes to do. And look, it's not a secret in that Week 18 game, the Chiefs played pretty vanilla on both sides of the ball. You got to be thinking that Spags is itching a little bit. He's having blitz withdrawals. He's like, I gotta send the house. I gotta send somebody from the slot. He's thinking about it in his sleep, drawing up all these kinds of blitzes, as you mentioned with all the stunts and twists. They're going to be blitzing. They're going to get after him, especially with the lack of run game that they have, as you mentioned, with the interior offensive line of the Texans. Not good. It's not good. And they were able to take advantage of them early. They don't run the ball particularly well to begin with after already not having a good interior offensive line. And with the Mixon injury added to the injury report, I don't know how much that will play into it. It feels like this is a big advantage on this side of the ball for the Chiefs. We just start to really dissect and look at each individual matchup.
Yeah.
They're playing their best ball at the right time too, the Chiefs are, and I just feel pretty confident with that. And the Jalen Watson really as a whole, I don't know how many snaps he'll play, but I feel like that really makes the Chiefs more versatile on defense.
I just think this is a really difficult game for Houston. I mean, it's just, unless Collins goes nuts, they're not going to throw the ball. They're not. I feel really confident in saying that. They just don't have the guys. Once Dell got hurt in week 16, that was kind of it. They could not do anything after that. And look, I get it. It's a half of football, and this time they're going to have the ability to adjust in the sense that they haven't had Dell for a while now, and all that's true. That still doesn't bring them back. If you look at them, they scored a touchdown right after the half. They had 3 more drives. 3 plays, 1 yard punt. 3 plays, negative 13 yards, punts. Then they had a field goal drive of 50 yards. It took 14 plays to go 50 yards.
Wow.
It's just, they're going to have a struggle. And look, their completions on those drives, obviously on the 3 and out, they hit Collins for negative 1 yard. They hit Schultz for 2 yards. Incomplete. Pass to Dalton Schultz, 24 yards. That was the big one. And then a pass for 7 yards. And then a whole bunch of runs. And then they had Nico Collins for 16. And then they ended up kicking a 38-yard field goal. And then obviously on the drive that went negative 13 yards, they didn't hit anything. It's just, it was just, it's tough, man. I just think if you're the Chiefs, you go into this game saying, look, if we don't let them run all over the place and we take McDuffie and put him on Collins or even just rotate over there and take away any deep shot, I don't think do. I don't know how they're going to move the ball. This isn't the Chargers who have no corners and play a ton of zone. This is a team in the Chiefs. They're just going to sit back and go, look, think about, I feel similarly in terms of how confident I am for the Chiefs to when they played Miami last year.
Yeah.
And I just looked at the game and it was like, Miami's not winning this game. They don't have the goods. They're not good enough. They got the 2 receivers and they got some speed at running back, and the Chiefs are going to have a plan for it. And I don't know what they do. And in this case, on their defensive side of the ball, they were so hurt. This is the inverse of that. Where I think Houston defensively, look, they got great edge rushers. Stingley's a stud. The linebackers are, they're not great, but they're good players. They can do some things, and Ryan's is an excellent defensive mind. They're going to do some things to muck up the game. I think the big thing in this game for the Chiefs is you just can't give them short fields. Can't give them a pick six. If you avoid that stuff, and they got to go 70, 80 yards every drive, they might do it once. They might get a couple field goals, but they're not scoring 20 points having to do that. They're just not. They're not good enough offensively.
Yeah. Ken Swanson talked about this on the KC Laboratory. Do you know who the Texans' number 2 tight end is? Don't look. I want you to guess.
Actually, I do know who it is. I've been doing the film. It's Irv Smith Jr.
That's Irv Smith.
That's right.
Chiefs legend Irv Smith is the second tight end now for the Houston Texans. Let's flip over to the Chiefs' offensive side of the ball, because last time we saw all these starters play, it was obviously against Pittsburgh Steelers. They were firing on all cylinders. You mentioned earlier in the pod, first game for Hollywood Brown was against the Houston Texans. You got to see him play a little bit more against the Steelers. But they also have this offensive line dilemma. So, Matt, I'm curious to kind of get your thoughts on this. And it's been a conversation about what they should do at left tackle. I know where I'm at. I'm curious to where you're at. What do you do? Do you dance with the girl that got you there, or do you go back to the new thing? I'll say in air quotes the new thing with DJ Humphries, because he did only play a little bit before he suffered another injury. But again, a full participant for him all week. Again, I should mention for the Chiefs, the only limited participant is McCole Hardman. And Nate Taylor said that limited is a week limited. It is a probably sat out a couple reps limited, not a only played 1 rep limited. So that's good to note as well. The Chiefs look to be fully healthy going into this game. So how do you approach the offensive line situation?
I would play Humphries.
I agree.
And look, people treat this like it's like if they play DJ Humphries and that's it. They're just like, we can't go back. Like, look, if he sucks, you then pull him out of the game. But I think their best case scenario is he comes in. He doesn't have to be great. Can he be Donovan Smith?
Probably.
Probably, right? And if he's that, and you've got those 3 guys inside, I will say this about Jawan Taylor. And I look forward to people just absolutely just flaming me in the comments. He will drive you insane, but he probably won't get you killed. He will take 2 penalties. You'll have a false start in the first play of the game. He'll line up in the backfield like 9 times and get called for it once or twice. But how many games have you watched with him? I can think of like the one this year actually stands out as Clowney with Carolina. How many times are you really like, he's just getting boat raced? Like, it doesn't really happen. Like, he didn't give up a pressure against TJ Watt.
Right.
He won't. Now, he took a holding penalty, but he won't get them killed. The concern in this game is if DJ Humphries goes out there and just gets Mahomes killed from the blind side, and it's a strip sack and crap like that. But if I'm Andy Reid, my entire game plan for this is to do one of 2 things, but they both achieve the same purpose. One is either I am going spread the entire game, and I was like, look, you're not gonna have enough time to get home. You're not. And if you rush in a way where you get out of your containment lanes, he's just going to take off anyway. Mm-hmm. So fine. The other way I could play this is to go 3 wide and keep in a tight end and or back and just chip the crap out of, in most cases, it would be Danielle Hunter, Demi Anderson, but a lot of Danielle Hunter on that side. And just chip him. And just say, look, you know what? You're not beating us. Yeah. But if I'm Kansas City in this game, I am taking those edge rushers out of the game. That is my entire – like, Stingley's terrific, but you can work away from Stingley. You can just say, hey, look, man, we can throw there at 3/4 of the field. Like, who cares? Like, I'm putting Justin Watson over on Derek Stingley. So, there you go. Like, I don't care about that. Not that I don't respect the hell out of him. He's a great player.
Absolutely.
But it's kind of like you can move guys around in a way where you can dictate that somewhat.
Yeah.
Kamari Lassiter's a good player. He's not Derek Stingley yet. Mm-hmm. The edge rushers, as great as they are, you know where they are. You know, it's not like Kyle Hamilton on Baltimore where they can put him anywhere. And it's like, or Derwin James, or when the Chiefs had Eric Berry, and you could just, hey man, you have no idea where the hell he's going to lie. Tyrann Mathieu.
Yep.
You know where they're going to be. It's not like all of a sudden Will Anderson Jr. is playing 2 deep safety, right? Like, that'd be great. You know where he is. So I think if you're the Chiefs in this game, and the hard thing is for Houston, the one way to kind of get around that sometimes is you can be, hey, we can loop and stunt, and you can get him inside, but you're not going to do that against the Chiefs because then he's looping into Creed Humphrey. Like, you don't want to do that. So you know where they're going to be. And if I'm the Chiefs, I'm like, I don't care. They're not beating us. Somebody else beats us, great. You know, if Al-Shaair and Christian Harris beat us, God bless them, beat us. But I just think, especially the blind side, just chip a little bit. And then look, if Humphrey's just playing great, then fine. Great. Leave it alone. But, like, and that's where it becomes hard. Like, on the other side of the ball, for Houston, hey, we're going to double Chris Jones. Okay, well, yeah, until they walk Bolton up into the A-gap. And then you're not doubling Chris Jones anymore.
Right.
And now you got a problem because now it's Juice Scruggs against Chris Jones one-on-one. Like, there's nothing you're doing about it.
Yeah.
You know, you can always double or chip. You know, you can't always do that with an interior player. Or if they're really committed, they're like, look, we're going to do every possible imaginable thing to handle this. Okay, now they're going to move him out to a defensive end position. And, like, yeah, you can chip, but now you've got a Menahu one-on-one and Karlaftis one-on-one. It's just –
right.
At some point, somebody's one-on-one, it's a problem. And, like, it's just, you know, when you're bad at 3 to 4 spots on your offensive line, like, there's only so much you can do to help. I just think every advantage in the world in this game points to Kansas City. Absolutely.
And going back to the offensive line for the Chiefs, what I want to see, Matt, is I want to see them do the same, I should say game plan in air quotes, right? The same game plan and the same help in air quotes that they gave Joe Thuney with DJ Humphries. Like, is that so much to ask? Like, get the ball out quick. Send a running back over there. Chip over there. I know that they did this a lot with Wanya Morrison, and Wanya Morrison, I think Kingsley even to a degree is different than DJ Humphries because DJ Humphries was brought in because they knew they needed help. They wanted to see what Kingsley could do by themselves. But a lot of for Kingsley and Wanya, they were kind of left on an island. They're like, all right, figure it out. Like, you're going to do it. You're going to do it over here. But when Joe Thuney got flung out there, they were getting the ball out quick. They were sending chip help, doing all kinds of stuff over there on that side to help Joe Thuney. Understandably so, because he's a guard playing tackle, so that he needed help. I think they should continue to do that. That obviously worked. That obviously went well. I do think what layers into that too, Matt, is Hollywood Brown's return, because in training camp, they ran so many RPOs in training camp, and then Hollywood Brown went down, and they're like, well, we can't really do those anymore. So now they can run those RPOs, which the ball has to come out faster because of all like illegal linemen downfield and everything like that. That helps with the pass rush. Running the ball helps with the pass rush. That also kind of goes into this. What I think they can really help against, those two edges. Run the ball right at them. Pull guys right at them. And these are the freshest that Isaiah Pacheco, that Kareem Hunt has been all year.
Yes.
I think offensively for the Chiefs, it feels like this is, and this is where you want to be, right? When it comes to the divisional round, this is the most exciting this offense has been all year. And I think that when you look at the tools that they have, their health that they have, outside of not getting Rashee Rice back for this game, you couldn't feel better about the situation this team is in heading into this game.
No question. And yeah, I think we're about like one more tweet away from them being like, Rashee Rice, she's been activated. I'm kidding. The last thing I need is some aggregator.
Doing split does not mean he's coming back soon, all right, Cal?
Jeez, I saw the video, and I'm not going to, but I get it. Some certain accounts are like, yeah, man, it's like, bro, he's doing a squat. Yeah, it's great, but like it proves he has legs. Right. I wouldn't hold your breath. Listen, I think that's a great point you make about the RPOs, because this is something they've done forever. When they play really good edge rushers, one of their weird answers is to not block them. Right. I mean, they did this years ago. Now, it was a totally different team, obviously, but like when they played the Texans in 2015 in the playoffs and they played J.J. Watt, and here's the fun one. Do you remember who the right tackle was for Chiefs in that game?
Ooh.
I'm going to double check and make sure I'm right with this. I'm like at 99.9% sure here.
You said the 2019 game, the divisional game?
No, 2015. When they had out.
2015. Oh. I don't know if I do. If it wasn't Mitchell Schwartz, then I'm out.
Oh, it was not Mitchell Schwartz. That I promise you. I'm pulling it up right now. I'm like 99% sure, but I'm just going to double check because I'm a professional.
That wasn't Fisher before he flipped over to left tackle, was it?
I'm right. I knew I was right. Donald Stevenson.
Oh, my gosh.
That was who was blocking J.J. Watt. And the Chiefs' answer to that was, we're not going to block J.J. Watt. And they did nothing but put him in conflict the entire game. There's like, here it comes. And they got Smith. That's, by the way, I think one thing you're going to see now that Mahomes has had 3.5 weeks to rest his ankle.
Yeah.
I bet you're going to see a lot of rollouts and a lot of moving pot. And they are just going to sit there and be like, look, you're not going to win with these edge rushers. You're not going to do it.
Yeah.
We're not going to put them back there and get them killed. Like, it's not going to happen. And I think it's going to be, look, this is where Andy Reid puts on master classes. This is where he does it. In the playoffs. Like in the regular season, okay, we'll figure it out. This time of year, they're like, hey, you know what? We have like 9 answers to the test you haven't seen yet. Here come 4 of them. And we'll say the other 5 for Buffalo or Baltimore. Right? Like, here it comes. They will absolutely use the RPO game. They'll move the pocket. They will have plays where they don't even block those dudes. And they'll just, how much you want to bet we're going to see Xavier Worthy on about 4 jet sweeps in this game? And then like 3 times where they don't even give it to him, but like Danielle Hunter's got to pop out. It's like, okay, he's out of the play now, and they throw a wheel route to Carson Steele 40 yards downfield because nobody's decided to block, to guard him. But again, though, this is why I think there's a trap in removing quarterbacks from what I'm about to say, because quarterbacks are a different breed and it's a different deal.
Yeah.
Everybody gets so enamored with like, how are you going to guard Justin Jefferson? Or how are you going to do it? It's like, because when you're in the playoffs and you're really good, you have a lot of really good players. Yeah. And like the Chiefs, it's like, guys, the Texans have, well, to be fair to them, again, taking the quarterbacks out of this, I mean, offensively, how many star players do they, like weapon-wise, not like Laramie Tunsil, like Collins and like kind of Joe Mixon. And then defensively, it's the 2 edge rushers and it's Stingley, right? Mm-hmm. The Chiefs have, they have Worthy and they have, Kelsey and Jones. But the point is, it's that middle class of guys on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
It just, but guess what? Like, they don't have 9 guys you can just constantly take advantage of. That's the problem for Houston, especially on offense. Yeah. When Xavier Hutchinson's out there taking 50 snaps at receiver, like, that's a problem. And when your offensive line is paper mache in the rain, it's a problem. And defensively, listen, I respect Tim Settle, who's had a good season, and Danico Autry, who I've always liked his game. They're not going to win against that interior. They're just not.
Yeah.
Okay? I've had this argument with Bills fans for 4 years running with Ed Oliver every time they play him. Here comes Ed Oliver, and then he has one tackle. It just doesn't. The problem becomes it's not just about the stars at skill positions in the playoffs. It's certainly about the quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a really good team, you're going to scheme around a few of these guys. You just are. And it's the other guys who have to make. Think about Super Bowls with the Chiefs. It's Mike Pennell. It's Leo Chenal. It's McCole Hardman. It's Nick Bolton. And start at some degree. Think about he became a meme at the end of his career. Think about Dan Sorensen. How many plays that dude made in the playoffs? Or my God, Damian Williams, who turned into eight playoffs. Think about the only meaningful moments of Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney's career in Kansas City. Those guys are the guys that oftentimes are the difference in big playoff games. They're not the guys that everybody and their mother game plans for. They're the other guys who are better than your other guys. And that's why I look at this game and it's yes, Houston has two great edge rushers, and the Chiefs are going to game plan those guys out of the game, and they're going to throw away from Derek Stingley, and that's going to be it. The difference is the Chargers couldn't do that because the Chargers have one good player on offense.
Right.
That's it. That's why. Their interior is terrible, and they have you and me next to Ladd McConkey. It's over. That's the difference. The Chiefs don't have that problem.
I wanted to clarify, you were talking about Ladd McConkey, right? You were talking about Justin Herbert. The good player was Ladd McConkey. Right?
Yeah, he wasn't the one to do 4 interceptions.
Right, yeah. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page there. We were. Ladd McConkey was very good.
Do you say, don't say serious for a moment. Do you think Justin Herbert is ever winning? I don't want to do that. That's a lazy, stupid question because, who knows, 10 years from now.
Right.
Do you think Justin Herbert is close to the top tier in the AFC? Of course, the Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, Josh Allen tier. He's not on it. No one in their right mind argues that. No. Close to it.
That's a good question. I guess it depends on how you define being in that tier, right? Because we've seen 2 games in his career where they've been quote unquote big games for him, and he has, frankly, shit his pants in front of national television in both of them.
Been a pants filming.
And so I think that you can't say he is, but talent wise, you see some of the stuff he does on the field, and here's where I hate to go back to, Matt. The meme that's from The Onion that says the worst person makes a great point. Emmanuel Acho made a point a while ago about Justin Herbert being a social media quarterback, and golly, maybe he was right.
Emmanuel Acho also made a point today about how the Chiefs are in dire fear of the Texans, but
see, he sucks. So you can't have 100% hit rate, and sometimes a blind squirrel finds a nut, right? And he might have been right on the Justin Herbert one, but that's the only one I'm giving him.
That's how I feel about. I will just put it this way: a certain personality who runs a prominent football website that every once 100 tweets, I'm like, damn, that is well put. But there are 99 times are you serious with this? Yeah, man, it's I just looked at that Herbert game, or Herbert in that game, I should say. All I know remember is the Herbert game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, you're not even close.
No.
I watched that game and I was like, I know it's coming. Because everybody's got to defend him to the death on Twitter, right? Because God forbid you don't confirm every fucking prior you've had for the last 30 years of your life. And I'm watching that game. I'm like, he's terrible today. Look, I'm not taking anything away from Houston. They played very well defensively, but there were times in that game, bro, he is wide open. Hit him. To me, everybody's going to point to that. I think it was 3rd and 16 where Stroud, there was the botch snap, and he went back, got the ball, and threw to Hudson. Mm-hmm. It was a great play. It certainly changed the dynamic of the game.
Yeah.
But to me, the biggest play in that game, without any question, was when the Chargers were up 6-0 in the second quarter, and Stroud throws the ugliest pick you'll ever see in your life.
Yep.
Okay? The Chargers have the ball 1st and 10 on Houston's 40. And Cameron Dicker's a hell of a kicker. They get 5 yards, they're going to be up 9-0, right? And I know that sounds 9-0. if you watch the game, you'll know what I mean by this. Houston was dead on a ride. Like, they could get a yard, man. You're like, man, 9-0 might be enough the way this game's going. And he rolls right and, like, kind of has Quentin Johnston, but has to make, like, a perfect throw all the way across the field, like the back corner of the opposite end. It's a throw that, like, you really don't need to be making in that spot.
Correct.
Loaded up, did it anyway, and threw it short, and Lassiter picked it off, and the whole game changed. And I remember just thinking in the moment, like, what a stupid throw that is to make. What are you doing? Why would you make that throw there? Like, bro, chuck it out of bounds. And, like, yeah, Greg Roman, it's a stupid play call, but it's even dumber to throw it. Like, just don't. Like, why? And that's a throw that, I'm sorry, Mahomes is never attempting that throw. Ever.
No.
There's no world Mahomes is trying to make that throw. And, and to be fair, this year, Allen wouldn't make that throw. And maybe in past years, he would have. Gary's not making that throw, like Burrow's not making that throw. It's just a dumb throw. And I watched that game, and this is the one big lie of this weekend. I have seen so many people go on TV in the last couple of days. I'll tell you what, Texans, man, they look great against the Chargers. I'm like, did you watch that game? Because my entire feed, including my own on Twitter, was everybody just being like, this is the worst game I've ever seen through like 3/4 of football.
Yeah.
I think it was a disaster. Nobody played well in that game. And yes, like the Texans defenses, I would argue like the second half, they showed up. The first half of that game was Will Dissly dropping a ball that like would have absolutely changed the course of the game. Quentin Johnston doing Quentin Johnston things. Like the offensive line just blowing one assignment after that. It was that game was atrocious.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, well, I'll tell you what, man, Houston scored 32 points. I mean, now hold on a minute. The offense scored 20 points. Okay, they got a pick six. They got a blocked extra point, which is a hilarious play. Yes. They did. Cameron Dicker thought if he knocked it to the ground, it was dead. He got hammered. And then there was the field goal that they got off interception that was returned.
A very short field, yeah.
Okay, those are 12 to 32 points. They averaged 4 yards a play, essentially, except for the 199-yard drive that they had. They were not good. And so this idea that, like, oh, they look great. Go back and watch that game and tell me they look great.
Right.
The Chargers were a tire fire in that thing. So, yeah, it is what it is. But, yeah, I walked away from that game being like, yeah, Justin Herbert, I got to tell you, I think it's a little bit delusional to be like, man, he's top 5. Is he really? I think he's top 5 in the conference.
Yeah. No. I watched that game on Nick. The whole game on Nickelodeon.
Which is probably fitting.
And I love the games that have been on Nickelodeon have just been absolute, as you put, tire fires. Like the first Nickelodeon game they did, I don't know if you remember this, Saints-Bears in the wild card round. Mitch Trubisky wins MVP.
Oh, yeah.
They stuffed the ballot boxes, got the losing quarterback to win Nick Valuable Player, which also, by the way, doesn't make sense. Nick Valuable Player does not make sense. Nevertheless, we're still going to give it out. The trophy looks sick. Looked pretty sweet. I think Joe Mixon cursed when he got the MVP. I do remember that. On Nick, he cursed as soon as he got the MVP. It's a hell of a feeling, is what he said. And I was like, you can't say that, Joe. That's all right, though. That did make that game better. Patrick knew ball. Patrick was like, hey, you got to get out of bounds, stop the clock. It's like, hey, Patrick, what's up? But no, that game, that did make it more palatable.
What is more delusional? The people who say Justin Herbert is top 5 in the conference or just in the NFL, or Sean Payton at his presser today.
I'm glad you brought this up.
Saying, I'm going to pull up the exact quote because I read it like 4 times to make sure I was understanding it correctly. And I was like, yep, I sure am. So via James Palmer over at Underdog Fantasy.
Shout out James. Love James.
Yeah. He's a great guy. Ohio State.
Big weekend.
Always have a nice conversation with him. So the quote from Sean Payton was, quote, there's a lot of confidence in this team if we could get past that game, the wild card game against Buffalo. Yeah. The next game we felt real good about. And I got to tell you, I mean, I understand. I get they were a whisker away from beating them at Arrowhead in the regular season. And I also understand they beat, like, you, me, and 9 of the guys 38-0. I get it. That is a wild comment when you just got beat 31-7 in the wild card round. You gave up 31 consecutive points after taking a 7-0 lead.
Yeah.
You would have been, I don't know, a 10-point underdog going into Arrowhead. And you were like, you feel great about that game. And then there's all this talk about the next step is got to win the division. Feel like we're close. And I'm like, you had the benefit of a free win against the team that you lost the division to, right? So it's a 2-game swing.
Yep.
You still lost the division by 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is, so let's assume had the Chiefs played all their starters, let's say they would have won that game.
Yeah.
That is the difference. It would have been an 8-game spread. That is the difference within a game of the Browns and the Ravens. That is an unbelievable statement to me. Oh, yeah, feeling good. Feel like we're right there. What? Like, that is you with the benefit of a gifted win and the other team having a gifted loss. You finished 6 games off the pace.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, feel good. Feel real good. Wow. Nothing against Sean Payton, but I read that and it was like, I understand trying to gas up the team. I fully understand that. And like, look, if you're going into a game, you've got to feel you're going to win it.
Yeah.
But to say that after getting roundhoused in the face, 31-7, just that's good to have confidence in a game you're not going to play.
You know what? You said nothing against Sean Payton. I want everything against Sean Payton because you're the 7 seed. You are the 7 seed that has traditionally done absolutely nothing non-competitive in the playoffs, and you were looking ahead. You got a trap game, is what you're telling me? Sean Payton is saying that, that was a trap game against the 2 seed Buffalo Bills. We were looking ahead to the 1 seed. That's bad coaching, is what that is.
Like, not for nothing. You wouldn't even been in the playoffs in all likelihood if the Chiefs didn't just lay down. Okay?
I forgot.
You're going to be in the playoffs. And you're like, yeah, I'll tell you what, we're going to go in Arrowhead. We're going to raise hell. Come on, man. I would have. I would feel very confident saying in the playoff game, Bonix is not beating Patrick Mahomes.
God, no.
I mean, I saw that quote and seriously read it 3 times before I responded to it. It's like, are you kidding me? To say that after you just got smoked. Look, man, you want to say that after you lose on a last-second field goal or something?
Fine.
Whatever. Cool. You gave up 31 straight points. Did they ever force a punt by the Bills in that game?
I don't think so off the top of my head.
Like, and you have the gall to be like, I'll tell you what, if we had gotten through that game, if we had been 25 points better, I think we would have been really good against a team that probably would have went 16-1 if they had tried.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's going to be a comment that the Chiefs staple to their bulletin board for next time they see them.
Oh gosh, that would be so incredible. If like, why these teams? We have a whole segment, right, Matt, that you and I do, Beef of the Week, that we focus on people saying dumb shit about the Kansas City Chiefs. And like, why do teams keep doing that? I don't understand. I responded to the tweet. I quote tweeted it with the video of The Rock. Sorry for the Jimmy rig here on the podcast. I'm playing audio straight from my phone into a microphone, like I'm 12 years old. But I responded with this here. Shut up, bitch. And I think that's the most fitting response to that, because it's like, what are you doing? You can only be relevant when you're talking about the Chiefs, I guess. I don't know.
I am in the camp, and I know I'm a little bit of a loner in this camp. I don't have a problem when the Bengals. Now, at this point, they can't say anything. Okay?
No, they can't. They cannot.
At this point, it's enough out of them. But like, I don't have a problem when the Bengals say stuff, or at least up until this point. Now that this season's happened, now it's enough. Okay?
Yeah.
But like, look. The Bengals at least can sit there and say, you know what? We went into your building in the AFC title game, and we won. Now, the reason I say that is kind of expired at this point, it's been 3 years.
Cool.
All right, now, like a lot of these guys aren't even on the team anymore. Like, I don't want to hear like Sheldon Rankins being like, we went into your trap. No. Okay. But for a while, I didn't have problems with them saying stuff. Okay, look, they earned it. They went in there and they beat him. And I will give this respect to the Bills. The fans, I know it's like at this point, it's like a blood feud on Twitter. The players don't ever really say anything about the Chiefs.
Mm-mm.
You know, like they're real. Like then Dan Dawkins kind of sort of last year, but like not really. Like, look,
Yeah.
they're pretty smart about it. It's these teams like Tim Settle. You're like, bro, it has been enough out of you. Like, are you serious with it? Like, you know, when you get these teams that say stuff, you're like, what world are you in? Like, you're not even like that. Tim Settle's on a good team, sure, but like, some of these guys will say stuff like the Raiders. You're like,
Right.
bro, my God, man. Like Antonio Pierce, it's like, oh, I got the Mahomes rules now. He's not even the coach of the team anymore. You know, and
I wonder if he left those behind. I wonder if he left the Mahomes rules for the next.
probably took him with him. Yeah,
Yeah.
But like when you get these comments from guys, that you're like, why would you ever say that? Like, it's just a terrible idea. You know, it's like when the Bulls were in their dynasty around the 90s. There's some guy like the Vancouver Grizzlies who's been like, I'll tell you what I think. Like, it's enough out of you, big country. It's enough. You know, it just amazes me the amount of guys. And like Sean Payton, look, individually, you're a Super Bowl champ, man. Like you got accolades. You just finished 6 games behind them in the division.
Right.
Like, it's more than enough out of you. Like, call me when you're relevant in the division after Thanksgiving. Because the last 2 years you have not been. Please, just stop. Just stop. It's like if Jim Harbaugh had a presser right now. As like, tell you what, you know, we hadn't lost by 20 to Houston, even though we were favored. Boy, we would have gone in there giving them a hell of a game.
Right.
I don't know that you would have. It's just, I saw that. It was just floored.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I wanted to get to that, but I'm glad that the 7 seed team fell victim to a trap game, is what he was basically saying. He basically was like, yeah, trap game is kind of what he talked about too. That's why we let up 31 unanswered, because
we got to turn up and start looking ahead.
We started game planning for Kansas City on the sideline. All right, that's what they want to do. We got him. We got him right here. Unreal. All right. Well, we've ran a little long. We need to take a break, and then we'll get Benny's picks on the other side, and then we'll put a nice little bow on this show, Matt. Coming up right after this break. Benny's picks coming up next.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
They appreciate you hopping on here, giving you some picks for AFC Divisional Round matchup action. Only 4 games on the slate for this weekend. A little less from you to pick from over there at Underdog. But Benny, how you doing?
I'm good, Tuck. It's good to see you. Good to get into the divisional round where hopefully we see a little bit more compelling action. A lot of mid games from the previous weekend, as the kids like to say.
Very mid to even bad is what I would say. I think sometimes, maybe this is a tangent for another podcast, but I think sometimes we misconstrue mid for bad, which is true. Like, you usually say something's mid, it's usually not very good, right? But mid just really means it's just average. And there were some pretty bad games. So the one game that, was really bad, it helped that it was on Nickelodeon. I did appreciate that. But
that's true. I'll also say too that the fact that it's still the NFL and everybody was watching it and it's still playoff football, I think that also helped bring it up from bad to mid. Because let's be honest, like, it was, week 18, we could have been watching like the Titans and the Jags. So at least we knew that the teams going in were going to be a little bit more compelling, even if the results didn't come out that way.
That's a good point. It was better than week 18. Week 18 this year was kind of disappointing. There wasn't like a ton of
chaos.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of like teams fighting for playoff spots, especially in the AFC. The AFC just had that one spot that the Chiefs kind of rolled over and let the Broncos take. But nevertheless, we had some good action. Hopefully having some good action this week, Benny. Your picks on Underdog, use that promo code KCSN, get you up to $1,000 in bonus cash there if you use that code, plus a free pick as well. What do you got for us?
Yeah, let's start with the Rams and the Eagles. I actually have a couple plays from this game, but we'll start on the Rams side with Kyron Williams. He's been just, one of the pillars of consistency for this Rams team this year. Their offense has been a bit up and down, but he's been so predominantly good throughout the course of the year. Ended up finishing just under 1,300 rushing yards. And this is somebody that got the rock a lot. And I just have a little bit of a concern in this matchup. Even though it was technically a home game, it's the second straight road game now for the Rams, and now going into an environment like Philly that has amongst the best run defenses in the NFL. I'm going to take Kyren Williams to go lower than 18.5 rushing yards, rushing attempts in this game. If you actually looked at his numbers the last couple of weeks, his carries have gone down 16 in the game against Minnesota, followed by 13 against Arizona in week 18. Now, again, you can say that the Arizona game, they were trying to rest him up a little bit. But before that, and we're talking about 29, 23, I still think this is somebody that will be involved. But they also use him as a pass catcher. Corum looks like he's going to be able to play. I look at Williams here and think, if the Eagles are trying to take away their running game, Stafford might be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL in play action. And I think they're going to try to make him and force him to try to get rid of the ball and not necessarily have the run game set up the pass game. I just think 18.5 in a road game where the Eagles look like they might be able to pull away, feels like game script isn't going to allow him to get to this number. I think the under is a safe play here, and I like it at 18.5. Or it's lower, I should say.
Yeah, lower over there at underdog. You go check that out over there. But I like that play. It's sneaky good game. I think that's one of those games that I think is a sneaky good game. I do like it. I'm excited to hear your other plays for this game too, because I know you said you got some other ones. Maybe we'll have to talk about those off air. Maybe those aren't Benny's picks for this week. But what else you got for us?
Yeah, well, let's go with another play from this game, and let's go to the Eagles side. This one I feel like we have a little bit more control over, as opposed to the actual tangible numbers. But I'm going to go with A.J. Brown higher than 7.5 targets this week. I think a lot of folks are going to jump on board the receptions and the receiving yards number. The narrative is kind of spinning that out of control with him reading the book on the sidelines, and Mike Vrabel talking about it in his introductory press conference in New England. They need A.J. Brown to get going and go the way in which, he was so dominant for so many games this year. The receptions numbers are pretty good, but, I think back about the games that they had against Pittsburgh and then against Washington back in December. He was targeted 11 and 15 times in those games, finished with 8 receptions. So more often than not, even just targeting A.J. Brown, whether it be deep on the sidelines or on a slant in the middle of the field where you can use some of that explosiveness and that ability to go get some of those 50-50 balls, and they need to get him actively involved in the game. And one thing about the Rams too is that they're generating a ton of pressure right now up front. We saw that in the game against Minnesota. Eagles offensive line, much better unit than the Vikings, but I do think Brown, in order for them to try to get the squeaky wheel going, he'll be in play. And it's less reliant upon the actual number of receptions and receiving yards. I just look at Jalen Hurts saying, I got to target him. I got to try and get him involved early and often. And I look to him to be able to do that this week. So give me the higher on 7.5 targets for A.J. Brown over at underdog this week.
I like that. Really good player. The book is kind of spelled out of control and everything like that. It's shooting up the Amazon charts and everything. Got to try to get my hands on a copy of it as well. Got to read the Inner Excellence. Great title. Great cover as well. Looks like a nice little stock photo. But Benny, what else you got for us?
All right, let's go to the Texans and the Chiefs matchup. This has been a spot that has been a really strong spot for folks all throughout the year. Give me Dalton Schultz to go higher than 31.5 receiving yards. The Chiefs have had their issues in stopping tight ends really throughout the course of the season. You go over some of the numbers this year. They've given up the most receiving yards to tight ends in the NFL. They're also top 2 in receptions allowed, top 5 in targets allowed this year. And Schultz has started to get himself a little bit more involved in the action with C.J. Stroud. They went, especially in the first half, this surprised me a little bit last week, Tucker, but they were very pass heavy in their matchup on last Saturday. And I think you're going to see a lot more of it again in their hopes that if they're able to keep moving things forward with the Chiefs, then you can open things up for Mixon But again, the Chiefs' run defense has been, an elite level unit for most of the year as well.
Yeah.
So they're going to try and pick their spots. And this is a clear advantage for Houston in a spot that I don't think they have many advantages. Maybe some of their pass rush with how they play, certainly as of last week. But this is an ideal spot for Schultz. He usually sits right up in the middle of the field. If the pass rush gets to Stroud, he'll feel comfortable dumping it off to Schultz. I think 31.5. And that number is actually on the move at some other sports books. So if you can still find it at 31.5 at underdog, go ahead and jump on it because I do expect that number to continue to climb.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it there. This is a depleted Texans offense. They don't have the weapons that they had at the beginning of the season. Even in week 16 when the Chiefs play, they don't have the same weapons. But Schultz is one of those guys that they do have. If it's not going to be Nico Collins, it's probably going to be Schultz. So I like that play there. Any more we got for the card for this weekend?
That's it for now. If anything else continues to percolate and pop up, we'll make sure that it's tagged out on X at KCS at KC Sports Network and also at Benny Heist. But those are the core three for that football show this week.
There you go. We'll also have Benny. You'll have your picks for 5 things coming up later on in the week as well.
Yes,
That's just Chiefs Texans exclusive. If you want to lay down some underdog coin there, we'll have you there. You can use that promo code KCSN if you haven't signed up yet and get involved. Promo code KCSN will get you involved in that action. $1,000 in bonus bets plus a free pick as well, bonus cash and free pick as well. Benny, appreciate you.
All right, so good to see you, bud.
Look, obviously a pretty big matchup on the other side of the AFC bracket that got the marquee Sunday Night Football treatment. I think we all anticipated it too when you knew who the matchup was going to be between the Ravens and the Bills. Matt, before we get out of here, heat check on that one. What are you feeling?
If Zay Flowers doesn't play, and it looks like he's not going to play based on regular reporting, I think it comes down to a very simple question. Can Buffalo stop them from running the ball? I mean, that's it, right? Here's the seminal question. I've said this 1,000 times. If you see me on other platforms or you see me or heard me on the radio, I'm sorry because you're going to hear it again. The Bills love to play their nickel zone defense. That is what they do. They sit in it. They don't come out of it. It doesn't matter what down and distance it is. That's what they play. And Sean McDermott in week 4 was not worried about Teron Johnson being the 4th player against Derrick Henry. It's cool. We're going to do it. And Derrick Henry ran for 199 yards.
Right.
Is Sean McDermott going to sit in that defense again? Even if Flowers doesn't play, are you really going to sit in nickel against Baltimore? Mm-hmm. When Baltimore's coming out with 2 tights and 300-pound Patrick Ricard in the backfield. It's going to be, don't worry about it. If I'm Teron Johnson, I'm actively picketing. I think, my God, take me off the field. That's the question. I think Baltimore, man for man, is the better team. I also think, and I'm going to pick them because of that reason. But I think if Flowers doesn't play in this game, I just think Buffalo, man, they're going to be hard to stop. And everybody's made a ton of Baltimore's resurgence or renaissance defensively. Mm-hmm. Go look at who they've played in that defensive renaissance. Right. Okay? It's been Houston, who, since Dell got hurt, they have not been good offensively. It has been Pittsburgh 3 times in that stretch. It has been the Browns of Bailey Zappi, and it has been the Giants. And the only good team they played were the Eagles, and they didn't have A.J. Brown in that game.
Correct.
How real is that defensive renaissance? We're about to find out. I'm going to take Baltimore because I trust the coach more. And I worry with Buffalo. Are they just going to be stubborn as hell to stay in that nickel defense? It gets just absolutely gouged to death on the ground and in the 2 tight end personnel sets or anything else. But, I will say this. I got to be honest. I think it's disrespectful that Buffalo's an underdog in this game. Why are they an underdog? And I know the line was initially that they were not an underdog. How the hell are they a 1.5 point dog in this game?
Yeah.
They're home with a better record than haven't lost at home all year long.
Right.
And then I saw the look-ahead lines for if the Chiefs win the AFC title game. The Chiefs are a 1.5 point favorite against both of them. So it's then how the hell does that compute?
Uh-huh.
So I don't know. Do you taking Buffalo going on the other side of this one?
Man, I don't know. This is one where I can talk myself into anything, right? When you can just really Baltimore's playing really good ball right now. Their ability to run the football is something that I think people who like grew up in the 90s have been craving for a while.
Yeah.
Just seeing that the way that their offense works, I don't know how you can stop it. It kind of sometimes for me when it comes down to who, sometimes my bias runs into who I think will win is like, okay, who do I think the Chiefs can beat better? Like who do I think the Chiefs can match up against better? And look, one of the teams beat the Chiefs, the other one didn't. And like I know that it was early on in the season for the Ravens. Isaiah Likely had the famous quote of like, we're only going to get better, right? As if like he forgot the Chiefs were also going to get better at the same time. But it's okay.
He actually did forget that when he said
He forgot that, but it's okay. It's all right. We'll allow that. We'll allow the pass. I want to see Lamar Jackson actually beat a good quarterback before I put it on Lamar Jackson.
Sure.
And honestly, I kind of want to see the same thing with Josh Allen. If you look at the quarter Josh Allen has beaten, he's beaten Lamar though, but like Lamar hasn't done a whole lot in the playoffs. Mac Jones, I believe he's got a Skylar Thompson is thrown in there. He just
Kenny Pickett pelt. No, I'm sorry. Oh, Mason Rudolph.
Yes, Mason Rudolph.
Nix
added the Bo Nix one to it, so he doesn't have like a real
who's who of.
He doesn't have like a trophy club of necessarily good quarterbacks he's beaten.
So if you're an elk hunter and you have like the biggest trophy you have on the wall has like half of an antler, it's a weird game, man. I think
it is a very strange.
What stops them from running to any degree they're going to win. The problem becomes is if Sean McDermott is sitting there in nickel the entire game and can't figure out why they're just running them over nonstop to the perimeter. Like, I don't know. I will say that everybody's going to make this out like, well, the Chiefs, who do they match up against better? I think the answer is probably Baltimore.
I think so too.
It's not history. I'm going to tell you the truth though, man. If the Chiefs play their best, they're going to beat either one of them.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Buffalo, with the way the offense is going now for Kansas City, I don't think Buffalo can stop them. And the one thing Baltimore does present a different challenge than Buffalo does, and to Baltimore's credit, Baltimore has a very good front. Like Van Noy's got a lot of sacks, Owe's got a lot of sacks, Matabike is a terrific player inside.
Yeah, he is.
Buffalo doesn't have any of those guys, man. And that's been the killer for them every time they play Mahomes in the playoffs, every single time. It's like, hey, can Greg Rousseau get home like 9 times? Because otherwise, like, I don't know. It's a whole lot of like Ed Oliver and stuff. And it's like, that's not enough. And Von Miller and stuff at like age 90. I don't know. Like, it's just, and you just know how it plays out. Like the one thing that with Buffalo is they're so predictable in the way that they play defense. And it's kind of like Mahomes said on that quarterback show years ago when like his dad, hey, who'd you rather play? And he's like, well, we match up better with the Bills. So give me the Bengals. Like I don't think they have any fear of them. They don't like if they play the Bills and I have to listen to one talking head, like Get Up or something on Monday morning, be like, tell you what, Bills beat them in the regular season. It's like, yeah, that's nice. They beat them every year in the regular season. And then the playoffs happen. And then Spagnuolo runs like a cover 9, 11-man blitz. And they win. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's just every year. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a great game, though. I do. I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense why it's the marquee matchup, right?
Yeah, the last game.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best game that's on the slate. You also have Detroit and Washington is playing the same night as the Chiefs, I believe, off the top of my head.
Yeah.
That game could be okay just because I think Jalen Daniels is like such a good wild card. Like he's
that's
like
the case, right? Like he's just running around and making plays off schedule, and it's a crap show.
But look, that he's done that forever. Like ever since he was at Arizona State and he was doing that. LSU, he won a Heisman doing that, and like that's not why people who've been watching Jalen Daniels for a while are like not surprised by what he's doing, right? Like this is what he does. And now he has he obviously had Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. at LSU, like obviously very good wide receivers. And I think Terry McLaurin finally having a good quarterback is also really sweet for Terry McLaurin. That game could get interesting just because of that factor of it. But I think Detroit is kind of playing they're playing their gritty card. It sounds like the Mikey David Montgomery back.
Yeah.
That could be a good one.
The thing that's going to be so fascinating about the Bills-Ravens game is if the Chiefs win on Saturday, then you're sitting there watching that game going, man, whoever wins this game, this is going to be an epic AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Right. And if the Chiefs get upset on Saturday, like those two teams are going to be like, oh my God.
We're winning the Super Bowl.
This is to go to the Super Bowl. Right. I mean, this is like, holy shit. Like if we win home field advantage, and like Houston did our dirty work. So that game's going to be wild in either way. No, obviously, I mean, I think that's outside. I feel like I speak for you. I mean, we both the Kansas City's going to win this game. I mean, I'm covering the game for Sports Illustrated. I got to be honest. Of the 4 games this weekend, this is the one more than any other that I'm just like, I just can't see them losing. I know it's possible. I get it. Look, I think Detroit's going to win. Like, I'm very confident in that. But because of what you said, there's a little bit of like, does he just have one of those games where like they should have sacked him 17 times and they can't get him down? He's running around. Like, Stroud's not going to do that.
Correct.
And it's just, and the other factor of this too is there's weather involved with this. It's going to be frigid.
Yeah.
And Goff is not Mahomes. Like, there's a world Goff just doesn't play well, and it's just, it keeps Washington in the game. There's not really a world where Mahomes is just going to go out there and play like crap. It's not going to happen. So, I can't see this dynasty. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I just, of the 4 games, I could see maybe the Chiefs not covering or something. Like, they've just been weird all year, but I got to be honest, I think they're probably going to do that.
What was your Super Bowl prediction at the beginning of the year? Was it Chiefs Packers?
Chiefs and the Lions.
Chiefs Lions. Yeah. It still seems pretty good. Eagles might make a run. I still feel pretty good about the Lions coming out of the NFC. Truthfully.
You know, it's funny. Like, I'm with you with the Eagles, but like, I can also see the Eagles losing this week.
Yeah, I could see, because here's the thing, is like, I think that they're due for like a shit your pants performance. Like, I
might go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, I got to tell you, man, if I'm Detroit, I don't want to see that team.
No.
Because that team is kind of the nightmare.
Yeah.
Like now the downside for the Rams, they can't cover. But also, like, they have a great like front 4, and they can score. That's the one thing with Philly. Like, Philadelphia, you'd think they'd throw the ball all over the place, but like they don't.
They don't know.
But the Rams are just, like, Stafford is just all caught. Here it comes, and like that's the most Detroit thing in the world, right? Like, Stafford goes in there and wins that game. Oh no! Like, oh my God.
Yeah, that would be a very.
And then the Chiefs play the Rams, just absolutely annihilate that secondary from soup to nuts for 60 minutes. It's just like, hey, game's over.
Well, I would think it'd be kind of fun. Actually, both times that the teams that the Chiefs lost to in the Patrick Mahomes era, when they lost in the AFC Championship game, they've played the Rams, right?
Yeah, they would have played the Rams.
Right, yeah, they would have played, and I think they would have beat them both times. Like, both of those Rams teams that they played would have played them, they would have beat them.
I think if they played the Rams, I think that'd be the best matchup for them.
Interesting.
Like, they can match up with the receivers.
Yeah.
They've been great against the run all year. And if I know anything about Andy and Mahomes, like, that secondary is going to have a bad day.
The Chiefs have the night game in championship weekend. I already saying the Chiefs in championship weekend.
If they get there, they have the night game, yes.
Yes. The AFC is a night game, so you would know. So, look, not a superstitious guy. I that takes too much work to be superstitious, right? You got to remember too many things to be superstitious. But like, if the Rams make it, man, and you're the night game, you're like, shit. The last 2 times the Rams made Super Bowls, Chiefs.
Yeah, but you're also in the huddle, like, guys, we can't let it slip through our fingers again. We got to get there. Yeah, great. Like when like when Mahomes has the huddle together, like pre-game, and they're all like done stretching and warming up, and like he gives his little speech. It'd be great if they drop like the boom mic in there, and Mahomes is like, "Look at the visiting scoreboards. Do you see what's up there? This is for a 3-peat." The most disrespectful play. Here it is.
Yeah. The mic'd up comes out the next day. You're like, wait, hell, hang on.
Celebrating wildly, not hugging or crying. We son it. I'll tell you one thing: if it's the Chiefs and the Rams, New Orleans is going to be like Kansas City South. Okay? Yeah. I mean, you're going to have 70,000 Chiefs fans just packed into that place. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I'm sure, Matt, I can promise you we're going to have comments on this video on Spotify saying, like, take them 1 week at a time. I don't got to do shit. I don't have to play the game. I'm not going to take it 1 week at a time. I'll talk about whatever I want to. I don't play the game.
Here's the deal, guys, and we can close her on this, I guess.
Yeah.
If they lose this game, It's because they pissed their pants.
Yeah.
That's why. I mean, and that is not, honestly, I know it sounds like a big slam on the Texans. It's not. It's just who the Chiefs are. They're a much better football team. If they lose, there's no world where you walk out of this game and go, man, Chiefs played really well and lost. It's not. That could happen against Baltimore, Buffalo. That is not going to happen this weekend. If they lose, you're going to walk out of this game going, oh, my God. They had 2 turnovers and 8 penalties, and Butker missed a kick, and they dropped 3 passes on 3rd down. Like, that's how. It's not going to be walking out of there going, geez. I mean, the Chiefs just played an A game, and the Chiefs could play a B game and win.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if they play a B-plus game, they're going to win the game.
Yeah.
It's going to be them having a game where you're just like, oh, my God. Like, what? Like the Christmas game. Not to say that the Raiders and the Texans are the same, well, the Texans are way better than the Raiders, but
right.
That kind of a thing where you're like, a defensive score, and they let a guy return the kick to the 30, and
right.
Like that kind of crap. A ball gets tipped in the air. It's going to be something like that. They're not going to have a game where Mahomes goes 28 of 36 for 280, and Collins has 5 catches for 67 yards, and they lose this game.
Right.
Like that's not going to happen.
I think that's a great note to end on as we barrel towards NFL Divisional Round weekend. Lots of good games on. We'll be back next week to recap them all for you. Hopefully talking about a Chiefs win here on KC Sports Network. Once again, if you don't have a spot to watch the divisional game, you want to watch it with some Chiefs fans, we're going to be up at Holiday Distillery. They got drinks. We're going to have pizza as well. We're going to be watching the game, and you can watch it with us as well. RSVP, link in the description in the audio podcast, in the YouTube video. You can find that also on the KCSN socials. RSVP, go up to Holiday Distillery up in Weston, Missouri. You can hang out with us as we watch the game. We're also going to be doing a live watch-along party as well, so make sure to stay locked into us here if you can't join us at the distillery, but still kind of want to hang out with us and watch the game with somebody. We'll be there with you as well. So for Matt Verderame, I'm Tucker Franklin. Thank you to Ben Holiday Bald and Bomb Bourbon, Holiday Distillery, Underdog, all the fine folks that make this program what it is. We'll be back next week, hopefully after Chiefs win, to talk more football. We'll see you then.